a little bit.
It's so similar.
Yeah.
It's so similar, and I love that they like kind of dulled the synth down and made it sound like more of like less of a '90s computer, because we all know what a '90s computer MIDI sounds like.
What an introduction!
Hey,
Whoa,
Internet.
guys!
Ooh,
Hey, Internet. Thank you.
Praise be.
Yeah, well deserved applause. But no, man, what we need an applause for today. I mean, what a day, right? What a day for all nerds, all sci-fi fans. I mean, like, we get, the Bad Batch. We get Disney dropping some trailer information, which is kind of cool. So obviously, with a lot of those cons and E3s coming to an end, they're just going to start trickling things just on the internet, as we found today. So obviously, for those outside of our Star Wars realm, X-Men dropped. So another great day. If you're a fan of samurai stuff, Shogun came out last night. I mean, like, it's been a crazy 24 hours for me. So, you know what I mean? What a way. And then we start today with, a character who I had no idea thought I would see. So before we dive into that reaction and furthermore things with a Bad Batch and our Acolyte trailer review, if you guys didn't hear about that just dropped recently, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com, people, your favorite website where you get all your favorite Star Wars fans fiction, and also your social media platforms where you can find us at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on TikTok. If you're listening to us on podcast, we are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. We're there as well. Odyssey, we're on Odyssey now. If I didn't mention that. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure that you smash that subscribe button, hit that notification button, so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. If you're watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure you share our group. It's called our Carbonite Bound to BS, a Star Wars group, where you get all your favorite Star Wars information and also conversation about Star Wars stuff. Excuse me. Leave us some feedback too. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting all your feedback and basically anything nerd related, about Star Wars.
Good stuff. And for those who haven't peeked at our other channel, we just did our review for Dune too, and did a little recap of the first Dune. So yeah, definitely peek out the nerd.
You read the entire book.
Wow. On air. In an hour.
Chapter.
I don't know. I feel like getting a little bit drunk and then explaining the story in this book could be a fun hour, but
that could be.
Not going to foist that on everybody without.
Might be.
Yeah, might be less CTV, but
and thanks. Thanks to Thomas Hastings for jumping in our group and giving us feedback about this book and about that movie. We appreciate that as always. Very insightful comments.
Good stuff. And yeah, Tom's always been a big proponent of giving us feedback on the channel. We appreciate everybody's feedback. So, like DP said, please leave your feedback. If we can get to it, we'll put it on air. We'll read it out, and we'll have to mention it because everybody's feedback's important. So,
I'll tell you, his feedback. Like, I remember about 15 or 20 years ago, he was like just trying to explain to me what this story was about, and he was like, "The worms are huge." So I know
big worms.
I know you appreciate it, dude. Too. All right, sorry guys.
No, it's a good start to the show, and I mean it's kind of parallel to the Star Wars realms in some aspects. And then we see, I saw a trailer for a show that is like, I don't even know. I seen the trailer. I put it in the chat. I couldn't believe it. I was stunned from what I seen. So I will have to watch this Rebel Moon 2 and figure out what this is, because I was stunned when I seen the weapons and everything. It was almost like it was almost like a slap in George's face. But
well, I think that was originally supposed to be a Star Wars movie, and then it kind of got debranded, right?
Right. So Snyder or whatever was supposed to like be part of this whole like. Yeah, I don't know, when they were just letting everybody get a movie, like like the Hertz commercial. You get a movie, you get a car, you get a car. It was like you get a movie, you get a movie. Yeah.
Snyder, you said?
This was this was his thought. I don't know if he actually did the whole movie, but Mr. Z. Snyder, the guy, was
Wow.
part of the whole Rebel Moon stuff.
Do you think his actual Star Wars, like the Zack Snyder version of Star Wars, has an evil computer inside the Death Star that's really in charge? Like the whole movie's about trying to kill this evil computer, and like not at all about Darth Vader. It's just completely different. That's what I think it is.
That would be weird. Yeah.
At least it wasn't like a 7-hour cut, but it probably is. It's not him. It's probably,
Yeah, seriously.
You know what I mean? He does not edit movies. One thing that
He rescued Chewbacca's family at one point in his cut, like that. Just completely random stuff happens in that movie.
Oh no. And it ties into the Christmas special.
Right, that's the lead in. It's the lead into the Christmas. Like that makes
so the whole 7-hour movie leads into it makes it valid. It brings validity to it, right? Brings it in.
That's correct.
Continuity, you know.
Yeah,
so
that's correct.
Continuity. Yep.
So where does the
It
Christmas
ties.
special fall in the timeline? Like is
slightly after. I think it's in between.
slightly after.
It's in between episode 4 and episode 5. And I think that Zach would definitely go into the Star Wars movie and insert, things that would link it to the Christmas special specifically. 4 extra hours of content at least, probably around B. Arthur running a cantina somewhere that they run off.
I needed to introduce Boba Fett into the story though, like that. This is where he shows up, so that's very important. It's not
super long cartoon sequences sent to grunge synth pop, where there's action, but and a lot of posing, but not much story happens.
It's very slow action. It's like watching paint dry.
slow action, you know. Yeah.
It's the whole. Basically, it's just the Boba Fett series. We got the Book of Boba Fett, but it's just one long music video,
Right.
and it's way more awesome than what we got. But the Power Rangers diversion, we'd be talking about that. We'd be like, but here they go, the Power Rangers in the Zack Snyder version.
And the Wookiees, Chewbacca's family sing, "Joy to the World" at the end in their native tongue. So
native tongue.
That might be a good idea.
Shiruk.
That might be a good idea.
yeah.
I don't know, guys. I feel like we're gonna have a couple weeks. We were talking about this on our our logistics chat, and we were talking about how we're gonna have about 4 weeks, I think, between Bad Batch and Acolyte. So maybe what we need to do is insert some scenes into episode 4 that tie the Christmas special.
Yeah.
Well, you know they love our fan fiction, so hey,
Yeah.
bam, boom, boom, bam.
And I have some new ideas, by the way, about how to do better. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring ChatGPT live on the show.
All right.
Special guest. Look at that. A special guest.
AI.
I have figured out a way using technology to do that. And
All right.
it's I'm just going to have a second computer.
Easy as that.
Yeah.
Easiest possible thing. So we'll that's how we'll do it. I realized because it's boring for me because I really like the show part of that where we talk about the story and we get everything put together, but it's boring for me offline, and it's really hard sometimes to get that stupid thing to do exactly what you want it to do. So my thinking is, if I'm sitting here and it does that, it'll be entertaining instead of just me going, "Come on,
Oh, why'd you say that? That was stupid.
why'd you put Bosk in there? I didn't say Bosk was in this scene." Like it's just throwing weird names in there. So I think also it'll be neat for our listenership and our viewership to see what it's actually like to use these tools for creative purposes. And I think it's an important thing to demonstrate because it's to one degree or another, I think these tools are going to be used by people forever.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully forever. Hopefully not another couple of years. So we'll see. But that's my. I was going to spring that on everybody in the chat, but I figured, hey, why not?
Yeah, bring it on live. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Can't wait
Let's
to
make
meet.
it talk.
I can't wait to meet him. You know,
And
her, him, her,
Yeah.
they.
Okay.
Hey,
Mm.
Okay.
it's not that show. Come on now. Not that show. But talking about cutting scripts and whatnot. I mean, and we saw the thumbnail, right? Oh, what a way to lead into an episode, Yeah, Hunter and Wrecker are sent on a side quest, and essentially it was a very interesting side quest because the person that I had no idea we would even see in the show appears. We talked offline and kind of leading up to the show, age wise. I guess we'll, in the Star Wars universe, as Ken says, and we might be actually proving him right. Maybe people do age a little differently because, yeah, she was looking kind of young in the Book of Boba. But we saw Fennec Shan, so that was our big reveal of the week, which is pretty cool.
So I just realized this, guys. We were also talking about the distance in time between Bad Batch and Mandalorian, right? It's about 24, 25 years. So that is the distance in time between now and the year 2000. And I will tell you, I do not look very similar to how I looked in the year 2000.
Definitely not.
But your mileage will vary.
Yeah.
It's different, though. It's relative. And people age differently in space and in our story. So you can't always say that someone's going to look as old as you think they're going to look. Just saying. But yes, very nice surprise. And I feel like we need to go back and review because apparently she showed up earlier in Bad Batch because Omega was a target of hers. And I think I remember that vaguely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to remember whether it was Clone Wars or was it Bad Batch that we seen her in, because we did see her in animated form before this.
Yes, and she was on a quest for Omega. I'm just trying to remember where we saw it, but they seemed very familiar with her and her shenanigans. And I dug the fact that they were it's all about information at this point. Like they don't even care about the money. It's about information, and we're on the M count quest. We're trying to figure out who has it, what it is, and what Hemlock's. So that's the new like story. Like what's going on? What's Hemlock doing with it? Who's got it? Why is he trying to increase this thing? So I don't know if they're going to get anywhere. I think Fennec is going to, because this is before Boba converted her. Okay, right now she's still a badass, all for herself, very selfish mercenary. Boba had the ability to change her, make her stable. So right now, I don't think that she, and I want to know who she's talking to at the end of the episode, because that's key. Like, who's she talking to? Is she talking to Hemlock? A representative of Hemlock? Somebody close to it, because she's cluing them in that, hey, Bad Batch is coming after whatever.
Right.
So I think she's going to betray them, which is going to be rude. But anyway.
I mean, up front with her character, she's sort of shady from the beginning. I mean, our heroes, like, well, we can't trust. We got to watch what we say around her, so we won't feel too much. But the way the episodes go, a little tropey, like, she sort of knew something was going on, based on the fact that they took the time to, try to team up with her and, go on this dangerous mission just to get, some information on M counts. Like, why do you want to know about that? So what do you, I just find it kind of intriguing that we're getting a lot of M count talk.
And do you think she's looking for an angle? Maybe she doesn't know either. She doesn't know what it's about.
No, she doesn't. She doesn't know what it's about and everything. But all she cares about is just the end destination. She has information, valuable information that people want to know. So she's bargaining. She's bargaining with our, heroes, the Bad Batch. Maybe she has something already set in stone with whoever she spoke with at the end. So it's information. She realized the information is a valuable asset, for her. So she doesn't care what or who. She just cares about the information and what she can get from it.
Yeah, sneaky.
These episodes are so good, man. I was not expecting season 3 to be as good as it is. It's really defying my expectations. It's so much better than season 2, and it almost feels like, they have a destination, and it's obviously going to revolve around M count. And is anybody? I'm having a flashback to right before Solo and Last Jedi came out, and they started making Han have the thing with the dice, the sabacc dice. And I'm thinking about that with M Count here. How like something is about to be big. M Count's about to be big in the next things they produce. So Andor season 2, and of course the Acolyte. They're gonna say M Count. I would put money on. They will say M Count in that series somewhere, and it won't matter to the plot. That's not a new. Obviously it's midichlorian count. They're talking about force sensitivity here, right?
Yeah.
I like this episode so much. And, you're right. Fennec does show up in The Mandalorian. And I had to think to myself at the end of this, is this the best episode of The Mandalorian? I mean, they go on this contained mission. The issue is they're going after this being that's good at killing. You know what I mean? They captured the being and they go back. And meanwhile, there's some Jedi stuff going on over there. Don't worry about this stuff over here with the Jedi. And it just felt very Mandalorian-y, which is good because these guys they're all clones of Boba Fett essentially, right? So that makes a lot of sense to me. Very, very awesome there. I just really also love the art, and I love that shot of Hunter with the green accents from the trailer. I think was in this episode. It's just gorgeous, man. And they have all the wear. All the wear looks so good on the armor. Man, just the gorgeous.
Scene. Yeah, I mean, all the details associated with that. Yeah, you're right.
So I've just been really enjoying these last couple episodes, and I will say it was hilarious to like Crosshair is like, that robot's like, oh, I think your hand's probably fine. Maybe it's your head. And he's like, what? Like he's all angry about it. But like, man, you look like someone smashed your head into like an electric burner. Like, come on, man. You can't be that sensitive about it.
Yeah, it's still not right.
It's like if I had a fake arm and I was like, oh man, I'm having a real hard time with this baseball, and someone was like, is it maybe because of your arm? And I'd be like, oh, what do you mean it's because of my arm? And start yelling about Jim Abbott.
Through something dramatic, reconditioning wise, and he mentioned it several times. He was already broken. He was already defective. That's why it didn't work, because the Empire couldn't defect him anymore. He was already broken.
They couldn't make me like kill it any more than I already do. So here I am.
So and it's so true. A lot of times we get a physical ailment of something that's really not physical. It's brought on through a mental.
Yeah.
Something that snapped.
The yips, we're based out of Pittsburgh. Steve Blass, very famous, right? All of a sudden, couldn't find the strike zone. Career was over. Nothing wrong with his arm. Nothing wrong with he's throwing fine velocity. Just couldn't, for some reason, right? It just didn't line up anymore. It's something that can happen. Psychosomatic stuff, and shell shock, PTSD. These are real things that we deal with in our society, so we know they're real. They have to apply to these soldiers that are, after all, only like 10 years old, right? They're not. They're only adults physically.
Yeah, and they've been through 50 to 60 years worth of experience in those 10 years. I mean, they've seen things that no one else has seen or want to see. So, but
they're gullible, right? We were talking about this a couple episodes ago. Like they just do it. They're like, oh, I guess we have to help her. It's like, why don't you just, why don't you threaten her a little bit? Like that would be helpful, right? You could probably do that and get a different resolution. But they go along with everything. And maybe last season I would have thought this is naive of them. But now that someone hit me in the face with the fact that they're 10 years old and they spent their whole life fighting robots, not people, robots, it would make sense why they're naive when people lie.
And then they're told that the robots are now friends. Now we're going to kill Jedi.
Yeah.
So they were
true.
Weird part though, but this whole episode, Wrecker seemed like the relative one that wanted to like question the decision, right? It was like Hunter who was acting like super like not Hunterish, right? He didn't act like a leader. He was so gullible. I mean, I granted they had to take the risk in order to get the information, but Wrecker was just a little more cautious in this episode. Wasn't as like comedic as he typically was. He would seem like he took more of that leadership role, which was different. It was fun, but I was sitting there thinking like, how does Wrecker know this is like a shit mission and Hunter is just going along so naive about it. Like,
I wouldn't say
they're like disarming the bombs. Like,
yeah, I wouldn't really call it like naive. It's like they needed information, and how else was they going to get it? You know, I mean, Wrecker didn't present anything different or new on how they can do it. He realized it was a crap mission, but Hunter, being a leader, he's like, well, we need this information. How else are we going to get it if we don't go through her? And we need it for our sister, you know. So you do things for, you sort of sometimes do stupid, well, not, you do some sort of questionable things for family or whatever. You know, you make a decision that you know, that may put yourself in like questionable situations and stuff. I mean, basically, if Wrecker presented a different way to go about it, then they would have went about it. But this is the way the plot had to go. So this is just how we do. So I wouldn't say it's not him not acting so much Hunterish. Is what else could he do?
Yeah, he had to lay low. He had to go play the game. You know, even when they wanted to go around instead of going through the mines, Fennec was like, "No, that's what this guy's gonna expect. So if we go through the landmines, deactivate them, we'll have." And Wrecker and Hunter were both like, "Okay, whatever, we're gonna do it. It makes sense."
Yeah, let's just get through the mission, get this information, and now all of a
sudden
they
didn't get any information at the end either.
Exactly,
they didn't get anything. So it's like a little bit.
Who didn't know that? Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, we've been down this road before.
But what can they do though? What can they do? They dealt. I guess the pushback and this is just because plot is plot, you know. Why did they even have to deal with Fennec? You know, could they have not found another way to get this information without having to go through her? But of course, we want to see Fennec on the show. You know, we get a surprise.
And she was already picking up targets that were M count targets. That was the point. She had already captured bounties that were M count oriented for Hemlock. So like, well, this is where you need to go.
This episode, I'm interested to see how Fennec factors into the rest of the season. But this episode feels like it also could have fit really nicely into before the escape, because they're looking for information. They want to know where Mount Tannis is. Here, it almost feels like they have to pretend that Omega never escaped Mount Tannis, right? Because they can't say, "Oh, we know she's with us. She's back at this space station." You know, they can't do that. So it's interesting that it's here. It feels like a very deliberate choice that it's here, and it almost feels like it was conceived of to be at the very beginning, and it was kind of moved because there's not so much interaction between those two parties that were separated there. So I could see that being either way. So it'll be interesting to see how like important what Fennec does next is to the rest of the plot. And my guess is that it'll be very important because it'll probably bring the two sides of the wire together. It's going to arc. You know what I mean? The Imperials and the Bad Batch.
So you think she's going to come through with the payment for them, or I think she's gonna skate. Like
she's gonna find some way to bridge what she said, because she got them to go along with her on a mission and say, well, I didn't say I had it on me or whatever. You know, it's going to be something that, you know, puts her in a better position to screw them over or whatever. So she may give them something, but it's not going to be in the way that they expected.
Right, it's not going to be exactly what they want.
Right. She always said, "Okay, I'll lead you guys. Come on over here or whatever. You know, jump in this hole. Okay, I'll tell you now, but we're in a hole now. We can't do anything. You know, so you know, it'll be in some type of way where they just get themselves in a situation where she, like I said, screws them over and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I actually found Crosshair's plot, you know, side plot, if you want to call it, more interesting than the regular main plot. You know, the main plot just seemed like teammate said it, you know, to a degree, a little tropey, and like, you know, we've seen this before and stuff. Seeing Crosshair and, you know, Omega, you know, sort of, you know, bond a little bit more and everything was a little bit more interesting to me. You know, Crosshair softening it up more, Crosshair, we see him, in Zen mode, doing yoga, trying to fix his hand and stuff. So it's interesting to see Crosshair, sort of compromising or just sort of bending himself over to Omega. Omega just has this way about her that is
infectious.
It's infectious. It's like you can't deny her. With Crosshair, it's like, well, yeah, when she makes a suggestion, I got an idea, or whatever. Crosshair normally will be in a. He said, "Well, I'm not going to like this, am I?" He said, "You don't like anything." I'm like, I love that line. I love that line. That was just a great line from her.
And he agreed.
He was like, "Oh, that's how you know that Crosshair trusts her, because she knows him, through that little bit of interaction, because they only really had the prison, the capture interaction with those two, but she still relates to him as a brother and everything. So she's fixing Crosshair.
Right. Do you think like for her, so should we know she has an M count or positive M count transfer? So she has some sort of sensitivity to the Force. Do you think for him it's like when you're colorblind and someone is like, look at the reds, look at the greens, and you're just like, what are you talking about? It's all green. Do you think that's what it's like for a non-Force person when they're meditating with a Jedi? You're like, see, don't you feel it? Don't you feel it? And they're just like, no. I have no idea what you're talking about.
I think he'd let her think that he was getting it.
Oh yeah, meditation.
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about. Breathe in, breathe out, wax on, wax off. I get it. I understand. He would just play along.
It would be weird if everything was solved in that theme like right then. So if they come back to this maybe an episode 2 later where he's doing it by himself, and it would be much more smoother to me. So I agree with you, Ken.
Like he enjoyed it. He's like, okay, well, that wasn't so bad. Maybe I'll try it alone. Maybe I'll do it on my own without Omega.
Yeah. I really want to get myself together. I really want to, aim better or whatever. Maybe it is all in my head. I mean, that's something they've just been teasing, throughout like the season and stuff so far. So it's going to have to pay off in some way. And he's probably like next to last episode or last episode. They're really going to need him to, make a shot, and he's gonna be in triumphant mode or whatever, maybe hugging Omega
or giving Batcher a pet. Like I was waiting for him to like reach out and like give Batcher a pet, because Batcher's like really trying to like warm up to him, and he's been I don't know. I'm waiting for him to like pet. Go ahead, pet the dog. Everybody wants to pet a dog, but he's holding his own.
I pet a dog if offered the opportunity to do so. I don't even know. I don't even know what dog we're talking about. I'm just probably a yes.
That's what they're there for. And Batcher was like real into that scene and close, and you could tell Crosshair was just like looking away from him. But I don't know. I think he's going to pet that dog.
Hey, I mean, I like the way Batcher has went from like this aggressive, like, loner, like, dog, at the beginning or whatever, that you couldn't really trust, to like now Batcher's at the point where, the whole crew is just like, loving, and, the Batcher feels that love and all that stuff. He's one of them,
Yep.
I mean, it's their droid in some aspects, right? I mean, they don't really have a droid, so it's really like
again, there's no in this series. Well, there's droids in the bar, but yeah, you're right, teammate. Every band has to have a droid. Like there's, B
drum machine.
Yeah, sure. Bo and Andor. I mean, there was a droid there through pretty much the entire thing. Very important. So Batcher's sort of their, all purpose.
Right.
He can fight, but he can also console and be there as a emotional support pet of some sort.
Emotional, so I like that. But no, I mean we've discussed it. I mean I'm thinking And it's funny, I was giving you guys shit about a couple episodes ago, but it's really 8 out of 8. I mean, this is a whole 180 from last season. We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're doing a great job trying to explain, the story. They're we talked about this weaving this fabric, right? It's just like he's tying these things, obviously Fennec, and then we see her later in the Mando verse. Like he's doing a good job of tying up all these storylines, all these characters. I think he's doing a really good job of also introducing these characters to where like this is like a Fennec prequel. So then when we see Fennec, or for the casual who's not aware of it, there's a little backstory to the character. It's not like he's just doing these things to where we have to give a character a whole episode. I thought that's where they went wrong with the whole Mandalorian when they did the whole Jack Black episode, or whatever that was. Like they had to explain those people and they had to do that side quest. We did this side quest. We really didn't have to dive into Fennec's background and waste maybe 10 to 15 minutes explaining her.
Right. We already knew.
Yeah, so I mean, and like I said, he's, believe it or not, as much as people give him shit, he's still learning on the job too, guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's done the animation stuff, but as far as being an executive producer, your hands are literally all in the pie, and literally you're at the top of this, you are the head of the snake. He's still learning, so there are going to be growing pains. I get it, right?
Right.
But I think that what we've seen from his early projects to now, even on the animation and live TV front, he's taken a lot of the feedback on, and it's just getting better and better. I mean, these projects are building better and better, doing great use of time. The one thing I'll say about the show is I love the time. I mean, it's a solid 25 to 28 minutes. Some of the other stuff we've watched, it was like 15 sometimes, and it was like 40. Like, I think he's found his kind of hot button with this show that's going to be around 25 to 28 minutes an episode, which is fine with me because he gets everything tied up and it leaves you wanting more, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Usually with his animated stuff, he does no more than like 29 minutes. Right. I don't think I've rarely seen anything beyond 30 minutes with the animated stuff, so he keeps it right around 24 to 29 minutes and everything. I just wish it wasn't like that in the live action stuff. I think because of the live action nature of the stuff, of the shows, I think you need more room to breathe. Especially with drama, it's not like it's a comedy half hour or whatever. You're dealing with like more dramatic, elements. And plus it's like, sci-fi stuff and everything. So I think it lends itself to be a little bit more time with than to just get in and get out, So hopefully he is learning. Hopefully we'll in the future get more better quality stuff, from the way he does it. But I'm in total agreement. I mean, I'm loving everything that's happened in this season so far. He's pacing his plot out, much better than he did like last season. And I mean, we're like a little over halfway done. So I mean, we're going to be on the back of it, come these next few weeks.
Yeah, we really even had that. I mean, we really haven't hit. We have 7 episodes left, and we really haven't hit that climax yet. I mean, the climax is going to have to be within the next episode or two. That something happens to Omega to like kind of sparks that like rally at the end, right? Like, and maybe it was her on that comm reaching out to whoever to say like, hey, they're asking for intel, like put a tracer on their ship or something. Like, I just feel like we're going to get that point to where like, we get to the climax and we're leaning towards that resolution because, I mean, we have 7 left. I just, and it's the only negative part is I just hope he can figure this out because that's the only thing. I mean, DP discussed it, right? I just feel like his endings are so rushed because he has so many ideas, and we're developing this world and this larger Star Wars story that, like, bro. I mean, we have now. Let's say we have, the program. What happens with the clones? We have 7 episodes to wrap up what happens with this because this is going to be it. So yeah. I just think that.
I think it's going to take 2 episodes to get to the point. And then you're going to have, a full court press. I mean, you're going to have Bad Batch all together going after, whatever. I think you're right. I think it's going to involve Omega. I mean, I'd hate to think that they would fall back on the, she got captured again thing, like story. Like,
no, I think we're done with hopefully we're done with that. That will just set everything back. You can't do that in these last 7 episodes. You can't go back.
That's the thing. That's what's happening right now. The Empire is after her.
You don't think that she does the bait thing that they tried in the first season, like bait her in there?
I don't think
get the Tantus or whatever. Try to bait her out there as bait, and then
Well, it could be a bait thing, but it has to be initiated by them. It can't just be okay to Empire capture her. It has to be something initiated by them.
Yeah, they're going to have to bait it. But, I mean, we have to wrap up now. Let's say we have a bunch of smoking guns on here. We have the Project Necromancer. We have this character, which I watched the all 8 today because I was like on this whole sci-fi binge. And we have this, I don't know, this other warrior, I don't know, we call them trooper, whatever they are, was left on that planet. That now I'm like 99.9% convinced that guy has survived. And under that helmet, it's going to be Tech. It's not going to be a clone. It's going to be Tech. They probably scraped him.
Tech?
Yeah. They wouldn't have left that character alive just like that and like had him at the end climbing out for that to happen. So it's going to be like a Tech to where like we saw at the end of Andor when the girl was mind scraped her and they have to put her together. I think he got mind flared or whatever, and they're going to have to like leaning out of the show, bring him back, kind of like she's doing with Crosshair.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned Bix because I just watched Andor again, and that's really like they really threw her into the street.
She's in pieces as it ended. Like when they were carrying her to the ship to get So that's kind of I think what's going to happen at the end when they reveal that maybe Tech is like. Because obviously he doesn't remember him, or he's playing like double agent. But I think that he's going to be the big reveal. But I mean, this show has been so phenomenal. I mean, and this leads into another great show that we want to discuss if you guys weren't aware of it. The Acolyte trailer came out this week, which was extremely, extremely interesting. Right, this is something I know me and Hitch has been like crying for. Sith lure, more dark side lure, and the fact that they're starting to delve in these projects. I mean, I'm excited for it. Super excited for it.
Let's check out the trailer just because I only got to see maybe one time and everything. I'm excited to see it again.
All right, you guys ready?
Cue it up.
Here it comes.
Close your eyes. Your eyes can deceive you. We must not trust them. Tell me what comes into your mind.
Life. Balance. I see fire.
Someone is killing Jedi. It doesn't make sense. What happened?
I sensed darkness. This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
What is that?
Oh, we get 2 episodes. Ooh.
Yeah, I was saying that. Yeah, it leaves us. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Man, them color tones. That evening scene at the end there, man, that's like the greatest thing. A lightsaber lit up at night like that, and the way that's shot.
With a bunch of them just like coming out,
right?
running. Yeah.
Jedi fight should look like a rave. basically. Swinging glow sticks everywhere, real fast, sparking. You know, the flashes. I mean, throw a little techno down, I think you have a good time. So it makes sense that Carrie-Anne Moss is in this since she's in the Matrix, right? And I got a very Matrixy vibe from this. You know,
the
Matrix,
combat, yeah. The aerial combat is very Matrixy, yeah.
all the combat.
Sliding across the floor, you know, all those
Carrie-Anne Moss in it, you know,
the Carrie-Anne Mossness of it, the Trinity-ness of this. I think the wire work, it looks like wire work, like Kung Fu wire work.
Yeah.
You know, the guy from Squid Games is going to be like the main Jedi Master. So I think that's really, really awesome. You know, everything seems great. And I love the way they've started treating accents in this, which is you could be from anywhere with any accent. So we're just not going to care. It's just, you're just going to talk however you talk, right? Whether it's, you know, like Spanishy or twangy, with Timothy Oliphant doing like a, you know, old West guy. So I think that's really, really awesome. And this show seems like it's going to have a real flavor. And when you think about it, this would be like setting a show in like 1920s Manhattan. You know what I mean? About that long ago, before anything we've seen. You know, we talked about the Jedi being this monolithic support for the Republic for 1,000 generations, right? Like 20,000 years, long, long time. We're due to see what that's like, because we have this sense of absence of the Jedi, I think, particularly in the original trilogy. And even in the prequel trilogy, I think there's a sense that the Jedi have been waning for a long time, and they're not, you know, central to what's going on in the Republic, and that's
they're not relevant anymore. They're sort of they've aged out. There's a new realm, new way of thinking, and the Jedi are just not moving along. So this story is when at their peak, like when they were actually important and respected, and they had a place in society. They were like we say a lot. They're the detectives. You know, they go and find out what's going on and reveal the evil. But it looks great.
Yeah, it looks like it. The trailer looks awesome. I mean, I'm seeing all things new. No. Besides Carrie-Anne Moss, I'm not seeing anybody else I'm recognizing and everything. And when you add Carrie-Anne Moss to a situation, and with her Matrix self and everything, you're adding sort of like what I want to say, a legitimacy to your science fiction. You know, it's a really, she carries an element with her, you know, with like a lot of the projects she does, especially if it's a science fiction project and everything. So I'm digging like the whole vibe. Loving like the Jedi stuff, because we haven't really been getting a lot of it in these, you know, live action shows. We just got more of it with Ahsoka, you know, so to see like where it all sort of like where they were at their height, I'm anxious to see that. And I'm hearing like, you know, that it's going to be elements of the Sith in this that sort of like, you know, begins like their downfall, right? You know, sort of like the Jedi downfall, and like where it all started.
It's the second one. I mean, the first one happened in the Old Republic. So the Old Republic was about 1,000 years before Phantom Menace. High Republic's around 100 years. So after the whole, you know, basically Sith eradication, what the Jedi thought, as we said, they were kind of pompous at this point, more like, you know, there's no evil in the galaxy, right? And then these inklings, and this shows kind of these inklings of these beings that are starting to hack down and kill Jedi, and they're like, well, why the hell are we going down? So it's kind of like the re-emergence of the Sith.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really, really interested in this. Not digging the purple robe. I don't know. I'm just like a classic Sith guy with the black, but hey, I'll let it run for whatever the show is.
Hey, don't forget the main color of Batman in the comics is blue. You know what I mean? Like the way they draw it.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, I'm very interested. This will be super fun.
I keep thinking, you know, you see the trailer, and the thought I kept having from the prequel trilogy is that line where Anakin says, nobody can kill a Jedi. And then Qui-Gon makes this like rueful, he has this like rueful look in his eye. And he's like, we'll see about that. Because, you know, he's about to die. And And so I'm thinking about that as we talk about the Jedi getting hunted down. Like the reason Palpatine could do what he did is because the Jedi got complacent, but it's because they had a long time where they were actually right when they said there was no evil in the universe and the Sith were banished and they weren't coming back for a really long time.
They got ahead of themselves, didn't they?
They did. But if you said every day tomorrow is not the day, and you kept saying it for 1,000 years, and then another 10 of those went by, at a certain point you would just believe that's true because the evidence is that it's not going to happen.
And it's going to be another day.
And it's going to be another day, right? So when you get to that day when it's not anymore, and Mace Windu is about to show up with way too few Jedi to try to take out the Dark Lord of the Sith, that's the day, right? So you have a long distance between this show and that, hundreds of years. I mean, again, to put it into our terms, that would be like talking about Prohibition, right? Like Prohibition era and now. They're very far apart. There's right. Very many things have happened that are completely unpredictable between now and then that have impacted our history. So that's a long time. That's what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah, like mathematics and everything, you're going to count and everything, Hey, everything boils down to math and everything. So eventually something was going to end up happening when Hitch is talking about that day, that next day and everything is not going to happen. Eventually something's going to happen mathematically, Like Ken said, all Star Wars physics is relative.
A long time's a long time. A long time's a long time. 10,000 years is a very long time. Yeah. A lot of things, basically, like what is contained in that 10,000 years is everything. Everything happens, right? Like you know what I'm saying? Like if you ran a baseball league for 10,000 seasons, eventually every team would win the World Series, right? Eventually it would happen.
You would hope.
Maybe not one. There would be one team.
There would be
one team
that did not win.
You guys got yours in the 70s, so stop it.
Yeah, that's great. That really works out for the 80s babies, right?
Right.
Thanks a bunch.
In that 10,000 years, we won 4 times. So what else?
Right, 10,000 years before now, we won 4.
Correct. Yeah.
What more do you want?
In the older public days of the MLB, there was a franchise. Yeah, there was a franchise known as the Pirates who were very, very, very strong.
Back when the reserve clause was
very, very low on M count.
We could just lock players down in perpetuity.
M count was really low.
Yeah,
M count was really low.
Very
we'll
low.
see. We'll see this season, gentlemen. I believe there are some Pirates players that we'll be saying have quite high M counts at the end of this season. At least one on each side.
Tomorrow.
I mean, there's a dude that literally throws 103 miles an hour.
Next game.
Next game.
From an Indians fan of all,
Guardians, buddy.
Guardian. I'm sorry. That's already.
That's crazy. Hey, I'm just saying right now, that's crazy. I'm just gonna say this. That's for another show, but that's crazy. That's crazy.
Don't come on here with the incel stuff, man. Please.
No, I like that. I like the name. I like the name. I'm just come on, man. Guardians, Commanders, come on. Or it's an '80s thing, 80s. It's
yeah. But once we're off and on our way, in the ground and everything, all the kids and stuff, all that stuff happened in the past and stuff,
It's true.
It does.
So, but 10,000 years has all of that, right? And and think about it. There's another 9,900 years that it contains. So everything that happens in 10,000 years. It's a long time.
What's really crazy is that how many years has humans been on this planet?
Give or take. So give or take they say the human brain has been pretty static for about 50,000 years or so.
50, really? Okay, 50.
Wow, you're giving us a lot of credit. You're giving us a lot. I'm thinking more like maybe 2,000 to 2,500.
Well, there's a difference between our existence as a species and history. History is probably 5,000 years long at the longest. If you talk about Egypt and China,
so actual
really
history, all right, maybe.
So that's only 5,000 years. Yeah. Everything that's ever happened that you know about has happened in half of the time the Jedi were in charge.
So there's something to think about too. That's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
And look where the Jedi went. Look what the history, the breadth of what they've accomplished and what we haven't even begun to accomplish.
So can you earn hubris?
That's my point. Like, it took us until what, 100 years ago, 125 years ago, for us to invent a vehicle, a car that actually ran without having a horse pull it, and we invented a light bulb. How many years did it take humans to get to that point?
And we did a lot in that 125 years. Like, it took that long to get there, but we've done a lot
there. And the light bulb, it's sort of like the light bulb went off, and all of a sudden you're off to the races. And now we got AI doing our work.
Well, it's interesting that traditionally I would consider Star Wars to be a slow tech progress universe, because like the difference between 1,000 years ago and now, like in ships and weapons and all that sort of stuff, is pretty flat. Yeah. So these guys are like on the far, like if we're on this, I call it the hockey stick, where our technology is going, and it's been doing that for like about 100, 200 years, 125 years since the Industrial Revolution. But these guys, what Star Wars suggests is that at the other end of the hockey stick, there's a new plateau where things just can't get any better. Like, it's just as fast as it's going to get. It's not going to get any better, and that's that. And you just get used to how it is.
Right.
And things stagnate. So what's interesting about Bad Batch and what the stuff that Disney's putting out now is that technology and science and advancement, like biology, all those things they matter to that plot, right? How fast those discoveries happen matters to the plot, and it's different than the old paradigm where it didn't matter, right? Like, if you flashed 150 years in the future, a Jedi is going to look like a Jedi. You flash 150 years in the past, a Jedi is going to look like a Jedi. You know what I mean? That's not the same way as it is
like
in
the
our
way they are. The technology will look the way it is. You're not going to see any discernible change in technology, ships, even space travel. I mean, apparently in this world, they've had this down for, thousands of years. They've been able to fold space, hyper jump, whatever you want to say.
Yep.
They've been able to do it, and it's like commonplace, and it's almost pedestrian. It's like everybody's doing
Han
it.
Solo has a thing that does it. Not, you know what I mean? Regular, like Han Solo at the beginning of that story has a thing that does this.
It does it. Yeah.
It's basically like an 18-wheeler or an RV is like what I kind of picture the
Spaceballs.
Yeah, like the cost. I think of it like a Winnebago. Like, if you said today you had to price, like, just based on like who owns them, what they do, and how much they have to pay to like how hard it is to repair and replace these things, I would say, like $50,000 to $80,000. Like, I'm just trying, like, this is just the way it feels, right? Like what they're trying to tell me it costs, like $80,000. If you said it was $80,000 to buy a Corellian Starliner,
Winnebago,
like a freighter like the Falcon, I'd say that feels economically right. Like, you'd have, like, if you were just coming into it, it would be a business transaction. You'd be using it to make money, whether you're, being a pirate or just running spice for the mob. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of legitimate jobs in the Star Wars universe, really. Like, there's not a lot of people where it's like, oh, I work down at the plant. Like, you don't hear that very much.
Yeah. Flip burgers. I'm not going to do that.
No. But you guys get it. You know what I'm saying?
This spice thing in Star Wars, okay, so it's a thing. You talking about with the mom and stuff. So what do people do with it that makes it so valuable?
All right, my thinking here, and it's not the same as in Dune. So Dune has its spice in Dune extends life and does its own stuff.
Dune, yeah, right.
I think in Star Wars, it's just cocaine.
Yes, it's drugs.
Like, there's no, like, it's not doesn't do anything specific, doesn't grant them something that's like, it just makes you really, really, really want to, move to Hollywood, be a screenwriter,
and express yourself on paper.
Express yourself on paper, but really express yourself this time. Really express yourself.
Has any story been depicted about, what makes this spice so valuable? Like, in any or Star Wars, like, media or whatever? Like, it's this thing that's just been, we got to get the spice, or we got to protect the spice, or the spice run by them or whatever. But I've never seen any, like, pedestrian or whatever.
They leaked it in episode 8 when Poe's girlfriend kind of alluded that he was basically a drug dealer, right? That was like the big thing. Like they alluded that Spice was a bad thing. Remember when she was like, "Remember, don't forget that you used to like run Spice, like, and what Spice does." Like, so that's where like the illusion of Spice being like a bad underground thing, and he was like a drug runner at this point. So that's kind of where they really alluded.
So Disney will never get beyond that.
No, they won't go beyond that.
I don't think so.
Spice
I don't think they'll
bad.
I feel like
Spice bad.
coaxium is the commodity. Coaxium is the thing that everybody wants. You can't have enough of it. That fuels the hyperspace engine. So that's the thing that really has and that's all new. Like when I was growing up with Star Wars, we just assumed you threw that lever and you went. Like there was no.
It's true. And even in Legends, there was no fuel mechanism that was really meaningful.
Right. So now we've been introduced to this stuff that you have to have. You have to either mine it or you steal it. You kill people for it.
So back in the day, all the ships in Star Wars were basically electric. They just ran. And they didn't have to fuel them or anything. And now they've upgraded and now they're all unleaded. Unleaded, baby. You got to put something in the tank or you ain't going nowhere.
You're at the spaceport for the rest of your life.
So like we were saying, pretty flat line for technology for these guys. It's really not rough or down. Just okay, we got fuel now.
They go.
You're right. Yes. You're right about commodities because they would have to make crap up. In like all the Legend series, they'd be like, there's a bird here that everyone really likes, so that's why people come here is to get this bird. You think I'm kidding, but that's
and they're taking all the birds and they're shoving it in the fuel tanks of their spaceships. And go past them.
Melt the birds down. That's how they make coaxium. Melting birds.
Melting these birds, these really beautiful exotic birds, and they're melting them down into coaxium.
Look how colorful it is.
I just hope this Acolyte show doesn't just do the tropey, like, these are defected Jedi type thing. I just hope it was like just other M count users that are like just never like conformed or just never joined the order, right? They just had an ability. Maybe they were people that just spited the order, right? Because it was like they were the High Republic. These were like the arrogant Jedi that like, you know, like where it's almost like the political figures. It would be like, you know, push the kid down, like if you stepped on their shoe type. It was like they were that powerful at this point to where there was an uprising, there was a spite against them. So maybe it was just people that, you know, an uprising or maybe a revolution of some, you know what I mean? A rebellion, right? You know, maybe it's a rebellion from the other side. So if maybe they're taking that aspect. So I'm excited that this show is only a few months away, literally a few months away.
Hopefully it'll be the next Andor, you know.
Oh yeah, I didn't get show run times yet, but I'm hoping. I mean, this is an hour an episode. Wow.
If it's somewhere in between Andor and Ahsoka, I'm gonna be happy.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty happy. So if we get
Ahsoka minus a couple like 18-minute episodes that I don't know what he was doing, but yeah.
Well, not so much like the episode, like, you know, how many minutes, but as far as like the whole vibe and everything.
Oh, the content, yeah.
Between Andor and, you know, Ahsoka fit right in there. I mean, you already got like a lot of the creatures and stuff, which we really didn't see any in Andor for the most part. So you got to see this in Acolyte, so they're bringing that in, you know, especially with the younglings that I'm sure that Anakin would have been just
chopping them in half.
Right, he's chomping at the bit, man. And it's cool that like you're saying, you see different species. We see Wookiees, so will we see the Wookiee Jedi again? I mean, this is. I mean, I like where they're going with it. So very happy that we got the trailer. But yeah, guys, you know, it's another episode as we're wrapping up here. That in the books. I mean, we're 8 for 8 on this season, which is great. I mean, this is close. I think hitting close to Andor territory. I know in a couple of the other shows we watched, they really weren't like on this undefeated run. So we're still going 8 for 8. Will it be 9 for 9 next week? I'm pretty sure it will be, but we'll let you guys we'll let you guys marinate that as we digress. As we discussed, keep your eyes peeled. We'll start our X-Men 97 reviews on our other channel as well. So please pay attention to our Facebook page. DP says we'll update you guys on any of that. whether it's nerddom or all things Star Wars. But until the next week's episode, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.
Right.